Hello and welcome to Ekstraklasa in English. There are a number of topics that we have to cover today after a turbulent week in Polish football. There's a lot of news, there's a lot of results to talk about. I've picked out four or five key things that we really should cover, and we have to kick off with the news at Legia Warsaw. The manager has been sacked, a new one has been appointed almost immediately, just a few hours after the sacking. Then obviously we've got to talk a little bit about the Monday night game between Piast Gliwice and Jagiellonia. We've got to talk about the news in Cracovia, where a defender has been banned by UEFA until the end of 2021. And obviously, if we have time, we'll cover the other team in Krakow. Wisla Krakow. Is the manager about to be sacked over there? Well, we shall see. Certainly an interesting few weeks coming up for them. But let's begin with Legia Warsaw, because obviously the big news today, and I'm recording this on Monday night / Tuesday morning, about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning as things stand. Nevertheless, Monday was a big day for Legia Warsaw. Another new manager is set to come in following the sacking of Aleksandar Vukovic. Vukovic sacked after 538 days in charge. He managed 67 games, he won 37 of them, 12 of those were draws, 18 of those were defeats. The final game, of course, that really put the final nail in the coffin was the loss against Górnik Zabrze at the weekend. A 3-1 defeat at home. Fair enough, it was to the league leaders, but still, you have to say that Górnik Zabrze were magnificent in that game. I don't know what was the scenario there, whether Legia were that bad or whether Górnik were so good, or whether it was a bit of a mixture of both. But nevertheless, what a game that was, by the way, the 3-1 win for Górnik Zabrze. It's certainly a game that Vukovic is not going to remember positively following that defeat. He has, of course, been sacked. When we look back at Vukovic's time, though, the start of this season hasn't been that great, has it? I mean, 4 games, 2 of those were wins, yes. 2 of those have been defeats. What's more concerning, though, is the fact that those 2 defeats both came at home. And actually, in fact, when you take into account the defeat in the Champions League qualifier, that's 3 straight home games that Legia Warsaw have lost. Now, I don't remember the last time that Legia have lost 3 home games on the trot like that. So that's significant. That's certainly significant. And when you talk about that defeat to Omonia in the Champions League qualifier, that is obviously the big goal every year for Legia Warsaw. Getting into the Champions League. They've failed over the last few years now. This is another one of those very disappointing defeats to a team from Cyprus, Omonia. Pushing Legia into Europa League qualifiers now. We'll see if they can even make those. But yeah, disappointing. But you got to say that Vukovic, for him, it started going wrong since the league resumed following the chaos caused by the pandemic. Let's not forget, he lost 3-0 to Cracovia in the Polish Cup semi-final. Let's not forget that he only won 1 of his last 6 games towards the end of the Ekstraklasa season. So they did win the title in the end, but they didn't run across the finishing line. They didn't even walk across the finishing line. They barely crawled over the finishing line. 1 win from those last 6 league games. Now, I think significantly, 2 former players who you could say that Vukovic simply pushed away out of the squad, out of the club. Carlitos and Michał Kucharczyk, they reacted to the news that Vukovic was sacked in their own special ways. Carlitos, for example, went on his social media. He came up with a comment saying, "Karma always comes back." Well, clearly aimed there at the Legia former now Legia coach, while Kucharczyk put up a gif of Trevor Noah laughing. So those were the reactions of those 2 players. Now, it is unprofessional. Let's be honest. It's unprofessional reactions from those 2 players. Whatever happened between them and the manager, you don't. a man does not go on social media and post little comments or gifs as a reaction. Men don't do that. Men either react, either get in touch with if they've got something to say to Vukovic, say it to Vukovic. Don't be going on social media and doing that. But nevertheless, they did it, which shows that there really must have been some upheaval there at Legia Warsaw towards the end of those two players' reign, and of course towards the end of Vukovic's reign. Legia just didn't look good, did they? It just didn't look good at all. But the man replacing him, we're going to move on now. The man replacing him is Czeslaw Michniewicz, and this is a man who is well known in Polish football. I'm pretty sure that's starting to get a bit of a reputation in international football as well, because with the Polish under-21s team, he's done really well. And he's going to continue to be in the role of the Poland under-21s while he manages Legia Warsaw as well. So we'll see how long he can keep the two jobs for. Whether the contract with the under-21s is going to finish sooner than his reign at Legia Warsaw, we never know with Legia. So it's hard to say. Jokes aside, let's all. I wish I think we all wish the guy all the best with the under-21s team. He led them to qualify for the Euros. This is the first time that they've qualified for the Euros since 1994. So he is no, he's no amateur here. He's a serious coach. He's a good coach, and he's got a good reputation as well. He won the title in 2007 with Zagłębia Lubin. I remember I was a kid back then, and I'm watching that season unfold, and for Zagłębia Lubin to win, it was sensational. It was a sensational campaign. I certainly will never forget it, and that's when I really where Michniewicz really caught my attention. Since then, there hasn't been much success until this campaign with the under-21s. But nevertheless, he has that league title already under his belt. He was the Ekstraklasa winner. He won also the Super Cup during his reign with Zagłębia Lubin. A few years earlier, he was with Lech Poznań. He won the Polish Cup then and the Super Cup as well. So we've got an experienced man here who's coming into this Legia Warsaw team. But the one thing I will say is that he needs to turn things around pretty quickly. He's going to have to, work on his feet, be quite quick with the way he works, because coming up on Thursday, I've told you I'm recording on Tuesday morning-ish, about 2 a.m. Just, less than 72 hours away, he is taking on Drita, the team from Kosovo, in the Europa League qualifiers, and if they don't win that and they miss out on Europe again, there'll be consequences. After that, they're playing at home against Śląsk. They'll need a reaction following the defeat to Górnik. That won't be an easy game at all. After that, they play away against Warta Poznań before going into a Super Cup game on Friday the 9th of October against Cracovia Krakow. So certainly these 4 games, they're going to come thick and fast now. Let's see how Michniewicz responds. Let's see what he does with the team, whether he's going to bring any players in. I had a really strange thought the other day. Obviously, he is the Poland under-21 manager. He's got some good players in his team. One player which I thought of that he may try to grab the attention of is Leeds United's Mateusz Bogusz, perhaps. The Leeds player at the moment is looking for an option to go out on loan. Could he be a player that Michniewicz is interested in? I'm just spitballing here. I just came into my mind just recently. I was thinking about some of the players that Michniewicz could perhaps think about bringing in from that under-21 side. We'll see, but he's got a big job ahead of him, and we'll see how he gets on. I'd like to move on now to the Monday night game, which featured Piast Gliwice against Jagiellonia Bialystok. Jagiellonia picking up a 1-0 win away in Gliwice. Very good win that for Jagiellonia. It's been a decent start now. 2 wins from their opening 4 games in the Ekstraklasa. Jesus Imas scored his 3rd goal in 3 games, so it's all looking nice and rosy for Jagiellonia. But I would like to focus instead on Piast Gliwice, because I don't want to say there's a crisis unfolding there, but it ain't looking good in the Ekstraklasa, is it? There's no wins, no goals from 4 games, 1 point, last place, even below Warta Poznań, even below Cracovia Krakow, who started the campaign with -5 points. The way the game unfolded, Piast, to be fair to them, they did have chances. Piotr Pażyszek came up with the first chance. He rattled the crossbar. However, you know, this is a forward who hasn't scored in 8 appearances for Piast Gliwice. So, I mean, where are they going to go? Where are the goals going to come from if your main forward is not scoring goals in 8 appearances? On the 37th minute mark, Jagiellonia did have a goal disallowed for offside, so you could say Piast dodged a bit of a bullet there. He had to be overturned by VAR. Pażyszek then had another chance in the 55th minute. He missed the ball. Before that, Dominik Steczek thought he had a penalty for Piast, but it wasn't given by the referee. Hard call for in my opinion, on that penalty. If the referee had given it, I wouldn't have been surprised. But then obviously on the 57th minute, Imas scored a nice goal, nice shot from distance, about 20 yards out, and you know, seal the 3 points. You know, Piast did have a late opportunity in the 88th minute, where the ball came in. I think it was from a corner. The ball hit the bar, and then it bounced just in front of one of the Piast players. He was just a few yards away from goal, had a shot. The ball came quite fast at him, so he didn't have much time to react. But the goalkeeper, he was on his back, he was laying on the floor, still managed to save it with his right foot. So a decent game, decent Ekstraklasa game this Monday night. But obviously Piast Gliwice on the end of another defeat, which is strange because when it comes to the Europa League qualifiers, they've beaten Dynamo Minsk. They've beaten Hartberg, the team from Austria. They're now looking forward to a game against FC Copenhagen. So, you know, it would seem that their priorities is certainly on Europa League. They couldn't care less about the Ekstraklasa now from the results. But, you know, a big game coming up against FC Copenhagen. I think they will be happy if they would lose 1-0. I don't think that's a bad defeat. If they would lose in extra time or penalties or whatsoever, I think that's a decent result against a side like FC Copenhagen. Let's not kid ourselves. We know who the big favourites are in this contest. But the big game, I think, for Waldemar Fornalik's men is the Stal Mielec game away from home on Monday night. So they're playing Copenhagen on Thursday. Then on Monday night they're playing Stal Mielec. Big game in my opinion. After going 4 games without a win, without scoring a goal, you would have expected a response against Stal Mielec. We'll see. Stal Mielec, the newly promoted side, so we'll see how Piast Gliwice get on with them. As I say, that big game first coming up against FC Copenhagen. Right, it's time to move on, and I said earlier on we'll be talking about the Cracovia defender who has been banned. Well, it's time. David Jablonsky, the Czech defender, has been banned until the end of 2021 by UEFA. The ban comes for corruption. This actually occurred back in 2012 when he was just 21 years of age, and the offences happened while playing for FK Teplice. 5 games were fixed, and he was part of that fix. 1 in the Czech Cup, 2 in some junior games, and 2 in the 3rd division. What's worse is that he tried to encourage others to join in fixing games, according to that report by UEFA. This ban is the UEFA. There was a previous ban by the Czech Federation, but now this one has been imposed by UEFA. And it's not a good look for Cracovia. Worst of all, it's not a good look for Jablonsky. And it just adds more defensive issues, if nothing else, for Cracovia, because obviously they lost Michał Helik. He's gone to Barnsley for 800 grand. They've lost Niko Datkovic, who was sold. Janusz Gol, the defensive midfielder, although he hasn't been really active for the last few months, he has gone as well. There aren't many defensive options now, and Jablonsky is now gone, so Cracovia Krakow have really got some problems at the back that they'll need to address. You know, it's 3 draws in a row in the Ekstraklasa. The one against Zagłębie, what a poor game that was. You have to admit that was a poor game. I know The goal was good. The Alvarez cross into Rivaldinho produced a nice header. That was nice. They hit the bar as well. But apart from those two actions, it was a poor performance. It was a poor performance from Cracovia. Krakow was a pretty boring performer, a pretty boring game. It wasn't certainly not an advert for Ekstraklasa. But what I'm worried about is that next up, it's a game against Raków. And the way that Raków have been playing, I could see them going to Krakow and picking up a win. I could see them beating Cracovia. The 3 wins from 4 games. This is a team that's looking sharp fitness-wise. The scoring goals, the winning games, confidence is high. Transfers, they've been busy in the transfer market, haven't they? So I can see Raków doing some damage on Cracovia if they're not careful. It could be it's certainly one of the more interesting games of the weekend, I would say. One to watch certainly. Time to move on, I think, to the last topic of Ekstraklasa in English. I did want to bring up Wisla Krakow because following the 3-0 defeat to Wisła Płock at the weekend, there are some rumours, there are some reports, there is disgruntlement among fans that Artur Skowronek could have seen his last days now at Wisła Krakow. This season so far, no wins from 4 games, 2 defeats, both defeats at home, similarly to Legia Warsaw. There's reports saying that he's on the brink. I think what's worse is that the next game is against Górnik Zabrze, who have just dismantled Legia away. What are they going to do to this Wisła Krakow team, who are really, a weak side this season? You got to give the credit where credit is due. When Artur Skowronek came in, the team was in utter shambles, utter complete shambles. And he produced a run. At one point, this team had won 20 points from 11 games in that sort of run. That was, I think, before the season stopped due to the pandemic. That run really helped them to safety. And you got to give the manager credit there that he took them to safety. He avoided relegation. He did what was asked of him. The questions are now whether he is the man to take them forward. And, the fans were calling for changes from the stands at the weekend. The main question, I think, for me is, if he goes, who takes over? Who seriously takes over? Who wants this job? I think that's the real problem here, and I think that is what's keeping Skowronek in the job so far, that there's just no candidates to take over the role. Thank you very much for watching Ekstraklasa in English. I hope to see you next time round, but until then, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.